Okay, so first we have verbal communication, written communication, effective listening, body language, and social media etiquette. And as always, everyone, I will be sending out the slides. I send these out to your managers. So if you want a copy of the slides or the recording, your managers should have that for you. So let's talk about verbal communication. So this is mostly your face-to-face meetings. These are the in-person meetings you guys are setting up, and they're also phone meetings. So make sure that you are speaking to your committee as well. I know we're all really good at texting, but it is really important to also have verbal communication. So always be friendly and think before you speak. So one of the things I would always suggest in meetings is practice what you're going to say, kind of know what your agenda is. And if you're calling someone with a purpose, know what you're going to say beforehand. Always be concise and don't dominate the conversation. I know we always have a lot to say, but remember that when you're in a committee meeting or you're having a conversation with one of your members, that it's important to also let them speak. As a chair, you need a certain level of confidence when you're speaking to your committee. So remember to speak with confidence and authenticity. We're also going to learn how to be an active listener. We're going to go over that in a slide. And then also be aware of your body language. So this is especially when you're speaking to someone, be aware of how you're coming across. So here are some questions that we as chairs and as leadership can ask some of our members. Like, let's speak to them. Let's find out what's going on. So something I always like to say is, if someone's struggling with something or you haven't heard from them, ask them, how can I help you? What else do you need from me? Who can I introduce you to? If you're tasking someone with a certain project for your committee, and maybe you know someone that might be better able to help, whether it's in the league or someone outside of the league, always offer to make an introduction on their behalf. And when can we get together to discuss progress? So it's going to be really important for you to speak to your committee and know where they're at so that they have communication back from you. You're not going to know what's going on with them unless you really ask. And then next up is written communication. So try and keep your emails to one topic per email. I tend to think that emails are great for getting information and documents out to your committee. If it's a long paragraph, I would not suggest that you text or mass text out your committee. There are a lot of people in the committee, and we all know that texting can get very long. And it also, if you have 10 people on your committee, let's say, we don't want 10 responses. So sometimes an email is the best answer. If a topic requires more than 3 responses or a discussion, I am always going to suggest to pick up the phone. If you're going back and forth in a discussion and your whole committee is replying all and it's becoming a big event, pick up the phone and call, who you want to speak to. So written communication should really be more informational. And then once it gets to be too many.
Good. I'm so hungry.
Hello. And next up, if you're unsure how your email will be received, wait and reread it. So always keep in mind, if you don't, always hold off on your responses. Remember that your responses should always be professional and also friendly. If you, for some reason, don't know how to respond, wait a couple hours, ask a friend to read it, ask your spouse to read the response that you have to these emails. we all know that sometimes, you know, we all know someone that can go 0 to 60 really quick. So always be careful with your responses in emails or text. Remember, we want to be concise and we want to be friendly. So if you're a little worried that it might come off a certain way, have someone else just double check it. And as I said, be direct, be concise, and remove any unnecessary words. Try and keep your emails very concise to what the point is. So for example, if your email is about next week's kickoff meeting, simply label it kickoff meeting, you know, June 28th, and then just give them the information that they need. You don't need to put all these extra super long things. And also back to with the email chains, just remember to just keep it to that one topic, or try and make it as clear and concise, because you want your committee to read it. You don't want them to just skim it. Sometimes if it's too long, they're just going to run through it and possibly miss information that you really will need them to read. What you could also do with written communication is require a response from them. So somewhere in your email, just write, please respond so I know you saw it. And now on to effective listening. So it's really important that as chairs, we practice effective listening. So first and foremost is we have to pay attention. If someone's speaking, give them your attention, because you would want them to give you your attention when you're speaking as well. So we have to just all be respectful of each other. Also show that you're listening, be engaged. Provide feedback. So once your committee has certain ideas that they are certain input, make sure you provide feedback, whether it's positive or constructive. It's really important that they know that you're listening and that you have an opinion on what they're saying. Always defer judgment. So remember, as chairs, we are there to empower women, and we're there to train our members. So defer judgment and respond appropriately. And responding appropriately is really more not just with written and verbal communication, but it is important that we are getting back to management or the board or your committee members in a timely manner. So keep in mind, it is important for everybody here to be checking their committee emails and getting responses back to people that need them. You know, some things are very time sensitive. So you want to make sure that you're setting yourself some time during the week, whether it's every other day or once a week. You want to set yourself some time for some junior league response time so that people know that you are going to look into it. An example would be if I'm really busy today on Tuesday and someone sent me a couple emails. If I need to look into something, I will respond. I will look into this tomorrow, or I will get back to you by Thursday at the latest. And so always let somebody know that you're going to look into it. You know, it's not really appropriate to leave someone without an answer for a week or so. So we want to make sure that as chairs, we're practicing that. And next is body language. So some positive body language is moving or leaning closer. And this is all, of course, in person, but a lot of the times you see this come across on Zoom as well. You want to be relaxed, uncrossed. You want to have good eye contact while you're speaking, and you want to have a genuine smile. Some negative body language that can come across is moving or leaning away, crossing your arms or your legs. Sometimes you've seen people like slouch on the side, looking away, looking to the side, or if your feet are pointed away or towards the door. So if you're starting to notice these behaviors in your meetings, that might be an indication that, you know, something is happening with that person. People can be very transparent. And social media etiquette. So always remember with social media that you as the chair are representing the junior league. Always help promote our league's events. Also, if you're part of a team, which everybody here is, it's really nice if you promote your other team committee events. It's even nicer if you attend them. But you will see that JLBR Connect and our Junior League website does post events. It would be great and really grateful if you could share that with your family and friends on Facebook or Instagram. Remember, their picture says 1,000 words. We always want you to join the members only Facebook page. We do a lot of postings on there. You know, anything from done in a days to announcements to just pictures of us doing different things as a league. So I would highly suggest, if you're not part of JLBR Connect or our public junior league website, that you log in and you try and follow us. And as always, support your sister leagues. I know other times in other events, we've had different, I know the Junior League of Fort Lauderdale does a 5K. And so, you know, we've gotten a team up there to do events with them. I think Public Affairs does some things with the Junior League of Palm Beach. So we are really hoping to support our sister leagues. And as I spoke last week, I hope some of you have gotten the chance to join the Junior League Exchange. And that's just really a great way for you to get to meet other chairs and other leagues across the country and support them in what they're doing. And kind of, they always have some great ideas, and sometimes they, you know, are in search of advice. And that's what we're here for. So maybe we're doing something that they didn't think of doing, or they're doing something that we haven't thought of doing yet. So it's always a great way to support each other. Okay, and the next important topic, so that's it for communication. If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. And next, I'm going to go over delegation. So the delegation was something we went over a few years ago. We used to have something called elite training, and it was a all-day leadership training that the Junior League provided for women. And it was really amazing because delegation is something that I know I struggle with at times. And I think everybody has a little bit of a hard time letting go. So these are going to be best practices for you to help you delegate. So today we're going to answer the what, who, when, and how to delegate. So delegation is one of the most important management skills. So it's such a great leadership skill, and it will take some time to practice and learn, but you'll see that it's, you know, it's easy to do, and you just kind of have to keep practicing at it. So good delegation enables the other person to gain experience, because after all, we are a training organization. We do want to empower other women, correct? Therefore, allowing you to contribute to their training and development while sharing responsibilities and the tasks of the jobs that need to be done. On the other hand, poor delegation causes you frustration and demotivates and confuses the other person. So you have to understand that with delegation, your sole goal is to get the job done. So if you give someone the skills to do the task correctly, you should have no problems. So it's kind of that saying, you know, you teach a man to fish. So that's what we're all here to do as chairs and as leadership, is to teach our committee to fish and to eventually carry these tasks on for us. I can only say that if your team does a really, really good job and you train your team well, then your job becomes a lot easier. So the performance will also be determined by the level of authority or responsibility delegated to another person. You as the chair have the ability to delegate as much as you want or as little as you want. But I can honestly say that it is sometimes some things do get overwhelming. And if you don't ask for help and you don't include your committee to help, it is going to get overwhelming. So we want to encourage you to pinpoint good people on your team that can help. You know, everyone here can have an unofficial co-chair. You know, pick someone at your meeting that is willing to step up, that wants to help take on some of these tasks. And delegation is a management skill worth improving for sure. So follow these guidelines for effective delegation. And let me just check the, I'm just checking real quick. Jocelyn had asked a question. She has a few committee members who have been waiting to be approved by JLBR Connect. So JLBR Connect is handled by our communications team. So that would be Francis. And Francis goes in every once in a while and approves people that have requested to join. So that would be Francis that would approve that. Okay, so let's first determine what is going to get delegated. So as you're starting to do your annual plans and the year is getting started, remember that you want to pick and choose what you're going to hand out. Effective delegation begins with defining the tasks of what you need to do as the chair, because there are some things that only we as leadership can do, correct? Like you're not going to ask someone on your team to write your management report for you. You're not going to ask them to do things that are your sole responsibility. What you could do is tasks you can hand out, anything that falls on the second list. So what do you need to complete? And what could you possibly hand out for someone else to do? So make two lists, and then that's the opportunity for delegation that you can pass on. It should not be just the jobs that you don't want to do or you don't like to do. It should definitely be things that you're okay passing on. Remember, you can delegate tasks, but at the end of the day, as chair and as leadership, you are still responsible and you are still held accountable for how the project or the task ends up. So even though you're delegating it, you still have responsibility over making sure that it's executed correctly. And next is choose the right person to delegate the task to. That's the who. And that comes with getting to know your committee. So ask around, you know, find someone that matches the skills for what the task you're trying to delegate for. Get someone, like I said, that wants to possibly chair this next year or has done it before, or maybe somebody that does communications for a living, and that would be really easy for them to be your communications person, and they would be a good person to send out the forms. Maybe you have someone on your team that is an admin and they like taking notes for your committee. So make sure you know what their skills are and try and match them. That's going to be the best way for you to find the right person to do the right skills. So next is clarify the desired results. So most importantly is going to be make your results clear. So you don't want to overmanage You want the person you choose to really have their own creativity and resources. But at the end of the day, you also kind of want to keep the reins on what's going on. So one of the added benefits of effective delegation is that the person might find a better and more effective way. So remember that we all think differently. So maybe by you bringing in someone else and asking them what their idea to get this done is, they might come up with a whole new way of doing this that you didn't exactly think of first. So always be open to what other people have suggestions for doing. And next is clearly define the person's responsibility and authority as it relates to the task. So always make sure that you are communicating what you expect from them, what their responsibility is, and most importantly, what the deadline is. So for example, I'm going to go and I'm just going to pick on Bridget, but I'm going to say, Bridget, when, I expect a training to be up and running by September, your responsibility is now to find a speaker and to set this up on the calendar. You have a deadline of August 15th. Be very clear on what you're saying, because someone can't do that task if you're not giving them the information and the tools that they need to complete that. And let me just check the chat real quick. Okay. And feel free to ask questions in the chat. We're also gonna stay a couple minutes after if you guys have any questions on this. So establish the feedback loop. So establish ways to monitor progress and determine the need for assistance. So most importantly, as we spoke a few minutes ago about communication, is keep your communication open. Don't just say, Bridget, do this by September, and then September 1st, I check in and I don't know what's been happening the 2 months. So as chair, if you're delegating, make sure that you're asking, what the progress is along the way. It doesn't mean micromanaging, but it means just be aware of what's happening. So next is avoid micromanaging. So once you delegate the project, put aside how well you could do the job yourself. And this is something that is really hard for a lot of us, I think, that we all know we could do it perfect, but we can't expect everyone to do it the same exact way we would do it ourselves. But if you give someone the right tools and you tell them exactly how you would like it done, I can guarantee that it's going to come pretty close and it's going to be something that you're going to be happy with. So welcome the ideas of others and accept the alternative methods they used. Also, accept that it may result in mistakes. So by continually checking on someone, you ensure that no mistakes will ever be made is not true delegation. So if I am tasking something and every morning I am sending an email and I'm like, hey, where are we on this? Hey, what are we doing today? How did you do this? Oh, that's not the way I would have done it. Let's change it. You don't want to bombard someone because that's not really empowering them, right? That's not us training and that's not us teaching someone something. You want to give them a little bit of leeway to really figure it out and do it on their own. We can't do it for them because then at that point, we're not really delegating anything. We're just kind of having somebody do the work and we're still checking on it all day long. So I know that this might be a little bit hard for some people, but sometimes we just have to give up a little bit of control. So there's a happy medium between giving up some control, but also keeping in check so that we end up with a final product that is satisfactory. And next is our AJLI website has a delegation worksheet. So this whole delegation training comes from AJLI and they're very big and they have so many tools on this, but this is what the sample delegation worksheet looks like. And so the first thing on it is write down all the tasks that need to be done. What tasks must you do versus what tasks you can go ahead and delegate. And then there's a list of tasks. So I'm going to show you a smaller version of this that was done on Excel. And this was done by one of my chairs. So this is just an example of all of the things that need to get done if we were doing an event at the VCRC. So yours might look completely different, but there are a lot of little teeny things that get done. And yours can be as open as this, yours can be as long as this, or much shorter. But Excel is a great way, or I mean, you can even do it on a piece of paper. Set it up in your meeting, and you could just be like, you know what, Sally, you're going to be in charge of the sign-in table. And Jody, you're going to be in charge of all our communications for this event. Then if you are having an event at the VCRC, remember that there's actual things we have to close up on. We have to turn off the lights. We have to lock up. Someone has to be in charge of the fob key. There's things to put away. There's equipment to put away. So those are all things that your committee can help with. You don't have to carry, you know, all of these things to all these events. You don't have to take care of it all yourself. That's why your committee is there to help. And let me go next. Okay, so any questions on delegation before we move on to crucial conversations? All right, perfect. All right, so crucial conversations, and this is a much shorter. So all the mini trainings we're doing tonight are much shorter versions of what AJLI has for us. And it's also a shorter version of the way elite training would have done it. But I think that it gets a lot of the tips and points across that hopefully you guys can absorb. So no one likes these conversations, but everyone needs them. And I think that everyone here who has, you know, been a chair, been a manager, or just worked in any office knows that crucial conversations happen. You're not bound to work or be anywhere where everyone's going to get along. But the best thing we could do is really just kind of learn how to handle it. So take a moment to think about a junior league situation that you had that you wish you would have handled differently. As chairs, you're going to come across a lot of different personalities on your team. Not everyone is always going to vibe with each other. Not everyone is always going to get along. So you have to learn how to help handle that situation, whether it's you and a committee member, whether it's two committee members, you know, all different conversations have to take place. So you are the first level of handling this. So while scary, they can be healthy and helpful. So the point here is to have healthy, helpful conversations should you have to have a crucial conversation. So what characterizes a crucial conversation? The stakes are high. You're going to have a lot of opposing opinions. Everyone knows that that is just bound to happen. And when emotions are really strong, this is when things can kind of, you know, get out of control a little bit. So what are our top 10 tips for crucial conversations? First and foremost is cool down. Wait until the immediate emotion fades, and a level head is always wiser. So take some time away from the situation, whether it's an email, a text, a phone call, or even in person. Remember that sometimes things that are said can't be taken back. And at the end of the day, we're all professionals here and we're all volunteers. So remember to just take a step back and cool down. So determine what the goal of your conversation is going to be. So if you have to have this conversation, think prior to it of what it is you want to get across to them. Have only one point. The more topics discussed, the murkier the conversation is going to be. So if you're upset with Sally because Sally has not been completing the tasks you've given her, then only bring that up when you're speaking to her. Do not bring up how she missed 2 meetings. Do not bring up how she's always talking on, during your meetings. Only bring up exactly one point on what you want to speak about. Don't try to fix them. Your goal is to be heard by them, not to fix the other person. As we all know, everyone's going to have different opinions. Everyone has different backgrounds. Everyone has different ways of thinking about certain situations and handling situations differently. So it's not our job to try and fix them or get them to think differently. Write it out. So if you're preparing to have a crucial conversation, make notes for the conversation. Write a couple notes down. One of the things I like to do if I have a conversation with a colleague is I write down right after exactly what we talked about. So I will write out points that I want to address with them, the one point I want to address with them. And then I will quickly after my conversation take quick notes for myself, just as a reminder, because a couple of days from now, should it become something bigger or different, it's always important to just have a couple of notes, especially when it involves the junior league. You can easily just go back to your notes. Should someone ask you hey, what did you and Sally speak about? She was really upset about that conversation you had with her. And you could say, you know what, I do have notes on that. Tuesday night, I spoke to her about how her task wasn't done. I don't remember raising my voice. I asked her to complete these tasks. I have these notes. So you never know when you might actually need them. Next is the time of day. So always keep in mind that we are really busy. If you are going to have a crucial conversation, what I would do is call them, set up some time with them. It's best to do it at the beginning of the day to start off on the right foot, or that way you control the length of the conversation. A lot of us work during the day, so you never want to call them out of nowhere in the middle of the workday to have a serious conversation. Always ask them, hey, could I have a couple minutes of your time? What time are you available to have a conversation with me about something I just need to speak to you about? And if they say, hey, I get home at 7 or my kids go to sleep at 8, maybe I can do it then. That's a polite way to really set some time on their calendar with you. If you're doing this in person, it's always important to have eye contact. We spoke about body language a little bit earlier. So you want to be self-aware of your body language in front of them. You don't want to seem angry. You want to seem open, like they can actually speak to you. And always is keep it calm, regardless of the response from the other person, because we've all been in situations where people get very hot-headed very soon. It is important for you to keep calm and keep the tone of the conversation. Remember that at the end of the day, you are the host of this conversation. So it's important for you to be the one to keep the tone. So keep a calm voice. There is no reason why anybody on this call or in the junior league should ever raise their voice. It's really not that serious. So always remember to just keep the tone light. At the end of the day, we're all volunteers. Everything can get solved. It's nice to have a helpful conversation. And listen, don't argue. After you've stated your point and you have communicated, That's when your job is done. You've proved your point. You've said what you needed to say to them. From then on, just listen and don't argue back about your facts or your side topics. It's really not necessary to do that. And shut it down. Crucial conversations should not be long. This should not be an hour-long conversation. You want to try and express your point, listen, and then say, you know, if you see it getting out of control, feel free to shut it down, to say, you know what? I understand what you're saying. I feel your frustration with this. Let's work on a solution together. And you know what? Let's come back to this in a couple days. Let's table this for a little bit. Let me find out more about this or how I can help you with this. So always it's important that you do not let this linger and let this go on for a long time. And once again, conflict is inevitable. So just to go over some of the things we just talked about was clarify what the problem is and what it's not. So make sure you clarify what the issue is and what you would like the solution to be. Don't go into it accusing anybody of anything. Remember, it's a conversation. So identify what the common goals, values, and assumptions are. So like I said, by saying like, how can we come up with a solution? Let's work together, because at the end of the day, we're all a team here, right? So let's come up with a common goal. Let's figure out how to get to the other end of this. Experiment until you find an approach that gets through effectively. So if the way you're approaching your committee is not working, try something else. Get creative with different ways of getting through to them. Like we said, keep your conversations focused on the issues and not the personalities. So remember that you're discussing what the problem is and you want to come out with a solution. You don't want to attack someone. You don't want to attack their beliefs. You don't want to attack their way of doing things or their personality. You want to just keep it focused on the issue that you're having. And also rehearse. So one of the things I would say is, like we said, write down your notes, rehearse what you're going to say. That way you don't deviate from what your plan is. And you're also better able to get a hold of your emotions if you know exactly what you're going to say. And as always, maintain a positive attitude. The goal is to come out with a positive attitude and come out with a positive solution on how you can better train that person or better help them. This is basically, oh, no, I don't know how to know. So next level help. So let's say you've had this crucial conversation and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. This committee member or other member or co-chair is not working for you. Well, you don't have to deal with it yourself, right? So if you try to resolve the conflict yourself and feel unsuccessful, this is when you call back up. I'm not saying you should wait till the very last minute, but remember that that's why you have a manager. Your manager is someone you can go to discuss this. You're also going to have a placement advisor, which we've spoken about. So your placement advisors will be assigned to your committee, and they are really your go-to people for these kind of issues. And you can go to them, confidentially and speak to them. Say, you know what, I've spoken to Sally several times. She's still not showing up to meetings. She's still not pulling her weight on the committee. What is your suggestion? At this point, your placement advisor is there to advise you on what possibly they can do. I've had situations where the placement advisor has been the one to call the member to try and find out what's going on, because there might be issues that we don't know about. And in some cases, you can always speak to each other, right? We're all on the same boat. We're all in leadership. We're all having similar things happening. So speak to each other, call each other, text each other, and just say, you know what? Hey, I'm having this situation. How would you handle it? Or go to someone that's been a chair for a few years, because I guarantee you they have had a similar issue, and just ask them, you know, how would you handle this? Or what did you do when this happens? And that's really going to be some good resources for you. And I can always say that we can come up with a solution if you go to someone else to help you. So that's the end of my screen show. We luckily finished pretty quickly today. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. So we've had 3 of these sessions. I have all the slides for you guys. So if you guys have any questions on anything we've gone over, like I've said, reach out to your manager. Feel free to reach out to me. This isn't like the end all be all. We're not just going to throw you out there now and say, figure it out. We're all here for you. So, you know, reach out and we'll be there to help you along the way. So you have a lot of resources. You have your managers, like we said, you have placement behind you as well. So we're always really good resources, not just on answering questions and how to fill out forms, but also how to handle different situations that you might have. All right, that's all I got for you guys.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
very
you.
welcome,
Thank you,
everyone.
Carly. For me, I'll just call you every day and bother you.
You totally can, you know?
Yeah,
I answer quicker on text,
I know you do.
Thank
but
you so much.
I don't really know you that well. Call Carol Elra every day and ask her questions.
you totally can, you know, it's, you know, everyone knows there's different personalities, you know, we can't, you're gonna come across that with any committee. I think the issue that comes up the most, I was gonna do some like mock scenarios that they had, but the issue that comes up the most is really, what do you do when you know, you have, let's say 6 committee members and only 3 of them are really showing up and being part of your committee and helping you out, you know, and that can totally happen. And that happens every year. Or as the year goes on, you know, people drop off, and then what do you do? So, I mean, that's something, at the end of the day, we can't force anyone to be here. It is still a volunteer league, and we just kind of deal with it. And we have those crucial conversations with them. And we find out maybe someone, you know, can't make the meetings at 7 o'clock. So maybe you give them tasks that they could do during the day, or vice versa. So it's just different ways of trying to work it out. And if they absolutely just don't want to be part of the team, then we have to kind of accept that. But hopefully that's not going to happen. So yeah, we're all going to do great. So, and like, once again, I mean, I know it might seem a little overwhelming. Some of you guys have already done this, but it'll be fun this year. A lot of you guys are brand new chairs, and you know, we're not in COVID anymore. So we're going into person meetings and we're going into person events. So it should be pretty exciting for everybody. So I'm excited to see what everybody ends up doing.
Carol, I was a few minutes late. Did you do something in the chat for everybody, put their names so that you have that for the?
No, as long as you're registered for the Zoom, I can see that you logged in, so you'll get points. Also, I know I've gotten a lot of questions on the chair trainings. So usually chair trainings are only 4 rewards for the whole thing. So this is the first year we're staggering it into 3. It's usually just one big one where you guys have to sit here for a few hours. So instead of 4 rewards, you're getting 2 for every one, so you end up getting 6. So keep a lookout for that. Also, I've gotten some people reaching out to me with your committee meetings. Everyone, please make sure that you are reminding them to either check in on the app or that you're taking attendance. Because a lot of people have been asking about rewards and when they're going to get their rewards. So just always make sure that just put it, even if you have to write it on your agenda, as soon as you start, remind everybody to log in and get their self check-in. So if you have any questions on that or any questions on how to get the rewards, feel free to email me. I'll put you in contact with Marcy. She's really good at applying the rewards. You just have to give her a day or 2. But if you're doing a Zoom, you're responsible for handing in the attendance. So just keep that in mind, girls. All right. All right. Once again, everyone knows it's trainingmanager@jlbr.org. If you need me, my number and my email is in the directory. So come find me. I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks so much,
Bye.
Carol.
Thank you. Bye.